You're listening to 8158 Stories of Sacrifice, where we honor the bravery of the first responders and the families who stand behind them. Real people, real stories, real heroes. This is 8158. Welcome back to another episode of 8158 Podcast, Stories of Sacrifice. Today's guest, we have Mary the Moody Medic from TikTok. So if you guys are not following Mary the Medic or Moody Medic, you should. And if you don't, I'm going to put you in a headlock.
What
How's
is
it
up,
going?
my guy?
Yeah.
It's going
What's
good. How are you doing?
Fabulous. So you obviously are a medic, right?
Yes, sir.
And how long have you been a medic? Okay, first of all, what inspired you to become a medic? Let's go with that first.
Honestly, a lot of the stories I have to tell kind of come post intro to paramedicine, but like my story itself isn't like something super off the wall, right? So when I was in college years ago now, I know I don't look it, but I'm over 30. Well, I was going through school because I knew I wanted to get involved in something in medicine. Ended up going to school for my degree in kinesiology to specialize in human movement science. And then I minored in psychology, focused on mental illness and cognitive development, and sociology for criminology and justice law. Then when I was really trying to figure out what I wanted to do and where I wanted to go with that medical field, I was already so overstimulated and overwhelmed by how much school I had done because I had completed an ungodly amount of hours in 4.5 years. I was in school every semester and every summer, fall, and spring intersession. So I went through 4.5 years with like no break. I think I took one vacation through that entire like span of college. So when I got out, I'm not gonna lie, I was like burnt out. I was like, I don't know if I can do because I was contemplating med school. I was contemplating getting a PhD in neuropsych because that's like really like my heart and soul. Like I really love the brain. It's fascinating to me that something that weighs 8.5 to 11 pounds runs your entire conscious and subconscious existence.
Right.
But I ended up being like, you know what, I'm going to take a break. So at that time, I was already bartending. I've been bartending since I was like 17. The restaurant I worked at didn't have a bartender, and I was just kind of winging it. I'm like, I don't know if this is legal, but that's fine. So I was like, you know what, I'm just going to focus on the bartending. I'm going to, make money. I'm going to travel. I'm going to do that. So that ended up getting away from me because I did that for years. I made a lot of money. I spent a lot of money. I did a lot of fun things. And by the time my mid 20s came around, I was like, I have to do something with my life. Like, I need to be a responsible individual because I don't have insurance. I don't have like a life insurance plan. I don't own my home. I don't like, I was just like, I'm seeing my friends make these progressions that they're making. And I'm like, my turn. So at the time, the person I was with and a couple of my friends were first responders. They were EMTs, they were paramedics. They had gone through all the courses and were working for the city and things like that in different parts of the country. And I had always had a fascination with pre-hospital care as well. So much as the fact of like just being able to do things at the drop of a dime, being able to make split second decisions. And I am somebody that works very, very well under stress. Procrastination is my middle name because that's what I did through school. I would wait to the last minute to get something done and I would pop out a banger. Like it is just how I function. It works very, very well for me. I am severely ADHD along with a couple of other things. It's just how my brain functions.
Mm-hmm.
So I really like had to think back of when I got into EMS because I swore I was going on 5 years. That's just how long it feels. But I think I'm approaching, God, when did I start? I think it was I think I'll have to look. It's either summer of 21 or summer of 22, that whole time period frames, but it's definitely under 5 years. And I started with the company that I'm actually with currently.
Mm-hmm.
And I was very fortunate after I got my EMT to be able to immediately be put on a primary 911 truck. And a lot of people understand like what mutual aid is. So like I was on a permanent mutual aid truck for that first year and some change. And then I went to work for the city I work out of New Orleans. So I went to work for the city after that because I wanted to work for New Orleans EMS. I thought that was super cool. It was a fun time. And I was also going through paramedic school at that time. And I told myself, like, before I get into P school, I want to give myself a year as an EMT. I want to give myself the chance to have that experience, to see what I can, meet people, build interfacility relations between hospitals, between us and the nurses, and just kind of like get that experience under my belt because I was getting it under my belt very quickly. My city is very high on uh, sick patients as well as like traumas. So there was no lack thereof either one of those things. So when I was working with the city, I went through paramedic school. And then by the time paramedic school was finished, I had a situation, like kind of like a falling out per se with the city. And I left New Orleans EMS. And then I came back to the company that I currently work for. And I actually, the day that I had started my orientation for the company was like 2 days after I found out I had passed national registry. No, not
Mm.
2 days. I misspoke, 2 weeks. 2 weeks after I had found out I had started national registry. And then from there, I started back with the company as a paramedic. And then I did like my clearing stuff. I got that done fairly quickly. I cleared on a mutual aid truck. Then I was on nights for IFTs, either IFTs or emergency in our parish, which we cover. Our parish is primary 911 for the areas that we cover. And I then had supervisors approach me and ask me, like, hey, have you thought about doing critical care? Because my favorite calls were respiratory calls, special pops, the really interesting cardiac calls, the ones that really kind of like make your brain spin. Like that's just
Mm.
that's the shit I live for. I love it. And at this point, I think I was a paramedic for about, I want to say 5 or 6 months, 7 months before I started with the CCT. And I was like, you know what? Yeah. I was like, especially because at the time I was attempting to go out for a PFS position, which for anybody that doesn't have PFS is the equivalent of like a lieutenant. And I had people tell me all the time, they're like, you don't need to do that. Like you don't have like as much time as other people and yada, yada, yada. And I was like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm going to do it anyway. So I got my CCT done. I applied for PFS. I didn't get it the first go around, but there's another wave coming through here shortly. I'm going to try again. Um, and I was very motivated because my entire life, regardless of sports, work, personal life, every job, every opportunity I've had, I've taken to be the best and do the best that I possibly can. And I didn't let my age or my time on that job affect me because you can always learn as you go, you know? And for me, it was really important that I catch on very quickly. I learn very fast. I'm a very kinesthetic learner, very hands on. And you don't really have to tell me things more than once, at most 2 times. Like it's just a knack of mine. I pick up on it very quickly. So because of that, I've been able to progress through different jobs and different parts of my life much quicker than others. And that's also caused a problem for me when it comes to people that have been in a career longer than me, because there's that little bit of like resentment there. But I try very hard to like realize like your emotions, your feelings aren't mine. So after all that was said and done, and I realized I didn't get the PFS, I'm like, you know what, that's fine. This is a learning moment. Tell me what I need to do. Tell me what needs to be like teached, coached on. Is it my time you want me to have a little bit more? Is it a way that I interviewed that you want to work on? Because I know I'm very awkward in interviews. I don't do very well with like sitting in a room with a bunch of people staring at me, which is so weird because when you're on scene, everybody's staring at you. But like, so we sat down and we had a talk kind of about how to cover that. And then after that, I got put back on a mutual aid truck as my truck. And that's the truck I've been on since. And it just it's where I thrive. It's where I succeed. I'm an FTO now. So I actually have EMTs and clearing medics and students come on my truck to train and to clear with me. And I watched a video on TikTok the other day that really had talked about and I made one myself on imposter syndrome. And we've had people ask, like, how do you get over that? How do you get through it? And the answer for me personally is there's no timeline for that, and there's no, like, rhyme or reason to how to stop that. It's like it's your confidence level. How many times have you done this procedure? How many times have you done this protocol? How many times have you seen this condition? How comfortable with it are you? Because I absolutely still have it, but just because I have imposter syndrome doesn't mean I'm not confident in my ability to do my job. You know what I'm saying? Because you get some wild, wild ass calls that when you're done, you're like, I did that? Like me? Like, yeah, good, good job type thing. And I'm just like, okay, cool. I'm gonna go eat an Uncrustable now. But all that to wrap up to say, like, I know I don't have as much time as some other people have in this job, but I can very confidently say that I have seen and done more in under 5 years than some paramedics have in their entire career of 10 and 15, just because we have the ability of that exposure. So where I may not have as much time, and I hate to say it, like, unfortunately, but unfortunately, I've had the experience because I've had patients that have been critical enough to need it, especially with the transports, with the emergencies, with the things that just come out. The city is a very good city to work in if you want to test and see how your skills are, and prevention of skill rot for sure.
It's pretty awesome. You know, you obviously seen a lot in the short period of time that you have been in the field. So, what inspired you to do the TikTok, and why do you call yourself the Moody Medic?
So the TikTok actually came from like the one I had posted. I was having like a really bad stim one day. I was on the way to a call and I could not get that fucking song out of my head. And it was the first TikTok I did in EMS for EMS. And it's a little tune where from Lion King was like, I've got a lovely bunch of coconuts. And that actually is the song that plays in my head when I'm like in a cardiac arrest. Of all
Nice.
songs, that's the one. And I was just like, I saw it. I'm like, fuck it. I'm like, I'm gonna put this on TikTok, see who else can relate. And then from there, it just kind of like went. And then I realized like as I'm going, I'm like, I had always wanted to push for mental health advocacy
Mhm.
just because I know like how rough it is on this side for first responders to get any help or at least to have someone to talk to reach out to relate to. And I started making like educational content, funny content, just things that you when people watch, they're like, "Okay, yeah, I get that." Or like, "Yeah, I absolutely know what you're talking about." And it's like I wanted to make it relatable because these are things that we see every day, we do every day. Um, and, uh, at the time that I was trying to figure out what my name was, because I was actually rebranding and reshaping my TikTok at the time, because my handle used to be Mother Mary, and it's a long story on that one, but I was sitting there talking with my partner one day and I was just like getting annoyed because like I couldn't get something to edit right or get something to move over or transition or whatever I was trying to do with the video. And my partner jokingly looked at me. He's like, he looks over, he's like, "Why are you so moody?" And I'm like, so like from that moment, I'm like, and it's just like moody doesn't always mean like moody in a bad way. So for me, I'm just like, Mary the Moody Medic sticks because I'm like, it's my TikTok goes from like funny things to serious things to educational to it's that bounce around of like what mood am I in.
Right.
So it just kind of it came on funnily, but I really wanted to start taking my platform, especially, and I am going to take this moment to plug somebody or to plug a because you had mentioned it earlier, like being able to plug for anybody that's watching that doesn't already follow Medics After Dark Discord. That is an amazing community, just shy of now 900 people of a place to have educational content. Of course, within HIPAA regulation, talk about calls or have questions if you have them, or just be an area where you can communicate with other first responders about a day you're having or a problem that you're having with studying for your NREMT, your medic school, whatever you may be. It's not just paramedics, EMTs, and AMTs. There's flight nurses, RNs. There's anybody of like healthcare essentially. And I came across Paramedic Anthony one day about 3 months ago, and it was live. And I was just like, fuck it. I'm like, I'll see if he'll put me up in a box. Let's see. But he had called my name out before and he was like, I follow you. Like, I noticed, like, I recognize you. I recognize your content. And I was just like, fuck it. I'll see if he'll give me a box. And he gave me a box and I never left. Like, that community, like, took me in so hard and so deep, and now Anthony is, like, a very, very close friend of mine. If you're ever in my lives or his lives, we have this little thing where, like, we pop into a box and I'm like, "Twin?" It's like, "Where have you been?" Like, just it's our joke. We're, like, the same person. We're both Geminis. We both CCT medics in a high business area. We both think the same. It's just like he's like my Irish twin. But the community that has developed before I popped in, I I am so in awe of it, of the things that everyone is doing to promote mental health for first responders and military veterans and spreading awareness. And another plug is for FRTG, First Responder Training Group. There's a website up now where you can go and find practice tests for your EMT, your paramedic, your firefighter 1, your firefighter 2. There's breakdowns of almost every major protocol you can imagine. The panelists are there for help. There's mental health outreach lines. They're building this beautiful, wonderful community that I'm so honored to be a part of. And that's really what I want to do. Like, I had set my goals for the year. Like, my goal is to be able to talk on a panel at a conference, whether it's a mental health summit, EMS conference, what have you. The drive to want to reach out to others, that nature to want to help others and be an ear for somebody or be the light in the dark when they don't have their own is something that is a true passion of mine and always has been. And it took me a while to realize that I could utilize TikTok to be able to do exactly that.
So speaking about mental health, my wife and I, we were at the Mental Health Awareness Summit in Wilmington, North Carolina. We met some amazing people. Maybe you can reach out to Brad with Pierce Provisions if you
Hmm.
like to go to summits and stuff. If you want to be a speaker, you can also talk with him about that. He's with Pierce Provisions. It
I
was a
follow.
great it's a great summit. It was the first one and it was only supposed to be a small class and it sold out and there was over 300 people there. Plus they had vendors and all kinds of stuff. I mean, we were there as a podcast and it was a good time. We were taken in and we met a lot of great people.
I actually had breakfast recently with Carolina Medic, Dusty,
Yeah.
when
I know Dusty.
he
I've met
came
him.
down to yeah, he came down to New Orleans with his son for a vacation and he was like, "I'm in your city." I'm like, "I guess that means we're getting breakfast very obviously." So we did. And he's a wonderful person. It was so much fun. Very smart man, very funny, just a very good person all around. I thoroughly enjoyed meeting him.
Yes, we did have the opportunity to visit with him and have dinner with him and a bunch of other great first responders. And Dusty is actually going to come on the podcast as well.
Oh, awesome.
Yes. So
Awesome.
we met him there at the conference. Great guy. I love him. And so we're going to have him on the podcast and
So
going to be a great thing. But one of the things I wanted to ask you was, the job obviously takes a toll on first responders. In the short time that you've been a first responder, how has it taken a toll on your mental health personally?
So this one's a little weird for me because the way that the traumas that we experience affect me, I think are a lot different than everyone else, or at least from people that I've met that I talk to. I am very, very, very good at compartmentalizing. And I'm also very good at separating my work and my personal life for the most part. But there was the way that that started to happen changed when I became a paramedic because I saw a lot of really crazy things as an EMT for my EMT partners, and I was able to be in, a good headspace after. I am a debrief kind of bitch. I'm gonna tell you, if I stub my toe and I have the wrong kind of day, I'm talking to somebody about it. Like, I can't hold shit in. But I realized just how drastically different that was from being an EMT to being a paramedic because once you became a paramedic, the decision is now yours to make. You're not just a part of somebody else's decision. You are the decision. And the choices that you make can potentially affect someone's life if something goes wrong, or are you able to fix something if they decompensate? And I realized that when I became when I became a paramedic that I started to silence myself a lot more. I was not as outwardly spoken. I started journaling a lot more. I was very, very hard on myself for the first couple of months because I set my own expectations so drastically high because I'm constantly wanting to thrive, to do better, and to be better. And there were points when I realized I wasn't hitting where I thought I should be. Instead of realistically, I was exactly where I needed to be or where I was supposed to be. But my brain didn't comprehend that, right? So it felt like I was constantly playing catch up, and the things they like sneak up on you and they haunt you in the weirdest little ways. Like I can talk about some of the worst calls I've had while I'm making lunch, but I pass by a mom and a child in the park on the swing set and I'm like absolutely inconsolable. Just the way that grief manifests, and I haven't heard that word used very often when it comes to explaining like mental health trauma, but for me that's what it is. It's grief. It's grief over patients I've lost. It's grief over beating myself up for not being where I thought I should be. It's grief of loss of my sleep, my happiness at the time, my time with my friends and family. Like it just presents in a very different way. I started realizing that there were elements of my job that I could change to relieve that a little bit. And that was the shift that I worked. I used to be early, early, early morning, and now I work 10 to 10. I realized very fast I am a bitch that rises with the birds, not works with them. The 10 to 10 is much so like my circadian rhythm now. I function very well on it. I have a lot more active, or I try to have a lot more active social life on my days off because I'm not exhausted in that way. And because I was a bartender for over 10 years, I was a night owl anyway. So going to bed at 12, 1 o'clock in the morning is so much better when you have to be at work for 10 versus you have to be at work for 5:30 in the morning. But it's noticing how the calls alter your brain chemistry in those weird little ways are the things that I try to pay close attention to because mine don't manifest in like regular depression. They don't manifest in lack of eating. Well, actually, take that back. That's not true, but how I eat. My food schedule is whack because I am a very talkative person. I will talk about the calls that bother me. I will talk about the emotions that I feel. I will talk about just anything that's in my brain. The problem is I don't know how to formulate it to make sense. I have so much I want to say and I have so much I'm feeling and so much overstimulation and I can't put it together in a complete sentence to get it out of my head is the problem. So I there's been moments where I've absolutely just blown up on people who don't deserve it because I was so discombobulated with a brain going 90 to 9. I I want to tell you, I want to say this is the day I'm having, this is how I'm feeling, and I can't articulate it. And part of that comes with my neurodivergency too. It's not just it's the overwhelming. I literally have had struggles my entire life processing how to actually display my emotions and display what I'm feeling. But I've been trying a lot more lately to face the calls that have been traumatic. Honestly, I think one of the defense mechanisms that I have is if I'm on a very traumatic or very stressful or very hard call, my brain has a way of blocking out the patient's face. I can't remember what the faces of my most traumatic patients looked like. I remember exactly how it made me feel. I remember exactly how it happened. I remember the patient's names and the details of the room and the way that the family was reacting, but I could not for the life of me tell you what their face looked like. And I think that's my brain's defense mechanism is just having like one more reminder of looking at that patient's face. And I'm sorry, my dog is making a ruckus. It was difficult for a long time to try to understand why. And now I just stopped asking why. If that's my brain's way of protecting me, of not wanting to see that face. And the way that I kind of function on scene too is for a while when I was in college, I worked in a forensic medical examiner's office for the medical examiner at the time in the city I lived in. Ironically enough, I met him in the bar. He was one of my regulars at the bar I worked at. So I was like, "Hey, I just, I want to get some exposure into healthcare." He was like, "You can come work for me." Um, and I had asked him one day, I'm like, "How do you do it? How do you cut people open? How do you examine their bodies? How do you do all of these things and like go to bed at night?" And he said something to me I'll never forget. He said, "Mary," he's like, "when people come onto my slab," he was like, "they're not people in that moment." And I looked at him kind of weird. I was like, "What do you mean they're not people?" He's like, "Not like that." He was like, "I look at this person as a machine that's broken, and I need to figure out either what broke it or how to fix it so I can give some closure to these families." He goes, "Because I can't function any other way." And after he goes, I give them their moment of silence. I do all the normal rituals that I have. He's like, "But in that moment, I can't see that person as a person because I can't function objectively if I do." And part of that kind of stuck with me. So like when I'm on scene now, I I see my patients as this is my this is the issue. This is something I have to fix. And maybe that's probably why I don't remember their faces because I don't look my patient in the face until after I fix the initial threat or the initial problem because I realize I can't function that way. And then after I'm talking with my patients, I'm having good conversation. They're telling me about their life and we're having a good time, assuming, patient's stable and everything's going from there. But I get it. Like as I do the things that I do now, I absolutely understand where he was coming from because it is so easy to get choked up in a moment for an elderly patient, for a pediatric patient, for a domestic violence patient when you allow yourself and by the way, I want to preface this with I'm not speaking for everybody else. I'm speaking solely for me. So when I allow myself to get more emotionally involved before I can deal with the initial threat. And then after I want you to tell me all about your family. Tell me about your kids. Tell me about your life. Tell me about how things are going for you and I will tell you everything I've done along the way. I'll tell you the things I'm going to do and I'll tell people I can't diagnose you. I'm not a doctor. One thing that I have to remind students of when they come on my truck is never ever ever tell a patient that everything is going to be okay. I don't care if it's just them needing a breathing treatment for their asthma. Never tell them everything. Just tell them you're going to do everything for them that you can. And I have to preface that with the fact that I've had patients that have started out in my truck completely stable and I'm coding them by the time I get to the ER. So, honesty with your patients, being humble too helps, like not thinking the paragod complex thing is very real. Like, that is something that I do not tolerate on my truck, especially if it's going to affect the well being or health of myself or my patient. Like, I have a very, I feel like weird view of things because I've tried to discuss this with people before about telling them kind of how I view the patients initially. And I got told by one person that I was heartless. And I'm like, I don't see it that way because I'm not saying I'm that way with the patient all the time, but I'm with that patient that way with the patient initially because I am an empath. I am a very, very emotional person internally and I will just suck up whatever people around me are feeling. Like it is disgusting how fast my emotions will change in a room of crowded people. And I literally just have to turn that off. Like I have to turn it completely off to be able to evaluate this person objectively. And the only way I can do that is by seeing it as this is my broken machine. How do I fix it? And then after I figure out what it is, then I can allow myself to open up and kind of be more comfortable with that patient. And I mean, that just works for me. And I don't know if anybody else functions that way. And if they don't, maybe I'm the odd man out. But like, it's allowed me to get through some insanely, insanely difficult and gruesome calls. And I thank my brain for that defense mechanism. Is it always healthy? Probably not. but does it keep me sane and allow me to talk about these things later? Absolutely.
Well, you're obviously doing what you have to do that benefits you and also the patient because you don't want to become emotional while you're trying to treat a patient. And that's not going to be beneficial for them because if you're emotional, you can't think clearly.
100%.
So I don't think you're heartless. I think there's a lesson to be learned here. And I know not everybody's going to be think the way that you do, but if there is a way that they can take something away from that, that would be amazing. Because, like people obviously aren't machines, but if you have to view them as something that needs to be fixed, then it might take the human out of it at first, and then you could fix the problem. That way you're not emotionally attached, and then
Yeah.
fix the problem, and then go back to your human side of it when everything is okay. We will return after this quick ad break.
The William H. Bill Butler Jr. Foundation is on a mission to honor first responders and support those who serve. We provide scholarships for families who have lost a hero in the line of duty, offer second chances to juvenile offenders who are working to rebuild their future, and help new recruits pursuing careers as first responders. Through generous donations and the sale of merchandise, we're building a community that uplifts, empowers, and creates lasting impact. You can be a part of this mission as well. Visit 8158podcast.com to donate or shop today. Together, we can support those who serve, honor those we've lost, and give hope to those who need it most. Behind every badge is a story, and behind every story is a sacrifice. This is the 8158 podcast, where we honor the lives and legacies of first responders and their families. If our mission speaks to your heart, if these stories move you like they move us, join us on Patreon. For just $5 a month, you'll get ad-free listening, exclusive merchandise, behind-the-scenes content, and video episodes only available to our patrons. This isn't just a podcast, it's a movement, and you can be a part of it. Support us at patreon.com/8158podcast. Let's continue to share the stories that deserve to be heard.
And I had someone ask me, I want to say it was 4 or 5 days ago, right under a week, very politely ask me like one of the worst calls I had ever been on. And I think it was a student wanting to know because they were in a very busy area and they were about to clear and just kind of like what to get themselves like involved in. And I told him, I was like, look, I'm like, I can't speak for your area. I'm not from there. I don't know your call volume. I don't know the types of calls you get out. But it made me really sit back and think. And then I found kind of by having that self-reflection, trying to really think about what my worst call was something that really helped me pinpoint kind of how things have altered my brain chemistry.
Mhm.
And it's really kind of fucked up because like I've been able to pull a lot of current healthy and or non-healthy habits that I have now from the basis of that call. So, and I actually like I'm at a point now where I can talk about it because this call really did alter my chemistry a lot. I would like to preface this with this was the first cardiac arrest I ran as a cleared paramedic, and it was a pediatric cardiac arrest.
Mm. Those are hard.
It was the patient had a long-term, very debilitating chronic condition that caused them to regurgitate and build up an excess of pulmonary edema quite often. Like this was something that the child had been hospitalized for many, many times, and child's under the age of 10. And we get there, and I've been on a lot of messy scenes of just like bodily fluid messy. I have never seen this much fluid coming from an individual that wasn't inflicted by trauma. And we had a sprint unit that showed up on scene to give a hand because we found out it was pediatric cardiac arrest en route. And we pretty much knew what the basis of this call was because dispatch had put in the call notes, like, mom is screaming in the background that the child has X, Y, and Z. And I get there and I just immediately, I have fire starting to get the suction ready. We're trying to get some oxygen on this kid. I ended up doing high flow through a nasal cannula because there was so much excess fluid I couldn't bag him. And I was like, I have to do a blind intubation on this because an eye gel is not going to work. Like this, there's no way with all this fluid that's coming out of this kid is this eye gel going to hold in place. And I somehow, through a blind intubation, got it on this kid. And we got lung sounds, very crackly lung sounds, but lung sounds nonetheless. And just like the mom in the background, I had to send one of the firefighters to go, like, just comfort her. I didn't want her to leave the room, but I wanted the firefighter to comfort her and see like what we were doing for her son. And we put the pads on, and this was an asystole code from the beginning. So with pediatrics, unfortunately, and understandably so, you can't call kids on scene. This is, at least we can't. So this is regardless of what type of cardiac arrest this comes out as, this patient's being transported. But we stayed on scene and we worked him for like 28 minutes or some shit like that. And I think, I mean, every minute, and I'm not exaggerating, every minute to minute and a half, we were suctioning fluid out of this kid through his tube. I think in total, by the time we got him to the hospital, we had suctioned some like 350 mils of fluid in total. It was ridiculous. It filled up almost half of the suction canister basin. And like, I'm just looking at this kid, and actually, I'm going to make one caveat to a statement I said earlier. There is one face that I will remember for the rest of my life, and it's his. I will remember his face. I will remember his name until the day that I die. And we're rolling him out of the bay, and I can hear the mom like just sobbing outside. And I'm freaking out because like this is not only is it my first cardiac arrest as a paramedic where I can't say, hey, I need an adult. Like, I need an adultier adult than me. I'm like, it is me. I am the fucking adult. So we go to wheel this kid into the bay, and I've done everything I can do within my scope, within my power to do for this kid. We bring him into the trauma bay. They move him over. They start doing a couple other things. They work him for like another 30 minutes. And I'm hearing the meds they're calling out. I'm watching them use the cardiac ultrasound and see no cardiac activity. I'm seeing the same pulse check that I was getting every single time. And the mom is just breaking down more and more and more in this corner. And I can't explain it in that moment, but my feet were glued to the floor. I couldn't move. I was just staring straight forward. I couldn't move. Like, and I had screamed in my head, like, we got to go, we got to clear, we got to go. And I literally physically could not pick up my feet off the floor. I was fixed on this kid. I was glued on this kid because part of me was just like hoping, like, even though the logical medical side of me knew what was happening and knew what the outcome was going to be, the little like empathic part of me was just like begging for this kid to hold on. And the doc came in, she did one more cardiac ultrasound and with no cardiac activity. And she looks at the mom and she looks at me and she looks back at the mom and she says, I'm so sorry. She was like, we've done everything we can. And then she looked at the other doctor that was in there and she said, time of death. And then she said the time of death, and I'll never forget that either. And the moment that she said those words, I got a notification on my watch, and it was pretty much like, hey, heads up, your heart rate's 143. My partner on the ambulance came and she got me and she was like, Mary, we got to go. Like, we got to clear now. And I'm like, I was like, I can't move. I was like, I can't move. And she brought me out to the truck and I just fucking broke down because all I could think of that moment was like, did I do everything I could? Could I have done better? Could I have called med control orders for this medication? Could I have done X, Y, and Z? And like, that shit, I think, fucks me up more than anything else. And some first responders as well, is Did I do good enough? Could I have done better? But at the same time, I have to play devil's advocate to that because that is such a good driving force to to study up more, to know your protocols, to be aware of your situations, of your scene management, your task delegation. Because from that moment on, oh my God, like the deep dive I did into medication dosages, special pops changes, paying more attention to like just it just made me so insanely hyper focused on everything because like you tell yourself like I swear to God that's never going to happen again. I'm never going to lose another kid when realistically you can't promise that, right? Like that's just not feasible. You will try your absolute best, but you can never guarantee that that's going to happen. But like man, for a while was it fun to lie to myself. Like because I've been on a scene since then where we lost another kid, but this was like a kid that was already long gone. Like this child was already rigor and blue. But that had nothing to do with me. It doesn't mean I don't feel any less shitty about it, you know? But it has been the driving force between everything I've ever done to advocate for my patients, everything I've ever done to advocate for my partners, every time I've had an issue between myself, my partner, and hospital staff, I took the learning lesson from that code and just forced myself to blossom into something better because I told myself I absolutely fucking refuse to allow myself to drown in this because I felt it coming. And there's a saying that I heard when I was probably in my early 20s. It said, "You can invite grief in for dinner, but do not let it stay the night." Allow yourself to feel that emotion, process it, not just feel it. Do what you need to do to process it and take what you can learn from it. Because the second you start drowning in that shit, like it's it's like it's like a river you can't get out of. It's like a rushing river and you're fighting against the current. Like you have to ride with the current for a little bit until you take the time to plan out how you're going to get out of it. Because if you keep fighting up against it, you keep fighting against the current, you're going to be too tired to do anything. And I think that is very much the case with some of the things I'm seeing with certain first responders is like we're not trying to ride with the current until we create a plan. We're trying to fight the current until we're too tired to fight anymore. And ultimately, fighting the opposing current, that water's still coming. You're not going to have enough energy in you to beat it. So either you run with it until you learn to process it and find a healthy way out, or you fight it till it drowns you. So I'm not a big fan of drowning
No,
personally.
me either. I wouldn't expect you to either. I mean, you're obviously figuring out the best possible way for yourself to, process the traumas and deal with that in a healthier way, which is amazing. I'm glad that you are be able to do that because unfortunately, a lot of first responders, they don't do that themselves. They don't take care of themselves in that way. So they end up either burning out or taking their own lives. It's unfortunate.
And like the burnout too. I've seen burnout. I'm very good about dealing with it when I can feel that burnout coming on. Because I will take a vacation. I will take a sick day. I refuse to the best I can let myself get like that. But the burnout also leads to empathy and compassion fatigue. And for people that don't want to acknowledge that they have burnout or they're burnout and they don't want to do anything about it, the empathy and compassion fatigue will now start affecting how you treat your patient, how you treat your coworkers. And our goal is and our job is to protect the patient. And part of protecting the patient and helping the patient is protecting yourself. Because if you don't have empathy or compassion for the person that, the same drug addict that you've picked up for the seventh time this week, or the chronic kidney patient who missed dialysis again when they know they shouldn't, they've been on dialysis for 4 years and they're already a BTK amputee bilaterally, like, but at the same time, I tell a lot of my students and a lot of my clearing medics this, and I will die on this hill. Treat every single patient, regardless of how many times you pick them up, with compassion listen to what they have to say, and treat them like you would a patient you've just seen for the first time. Because, yeah, they may do this 10 times in a row, but all it's going to take is that one time out of 10 that you don't take them seriously and shit hits the fucking fan. And now you're screwed. And the patient is screwed. And you're looking at all these other legal implications, but also like morally. Like, I would never be able to live with myself if I looked at a patient and I was like, "Oh, you're faking," and then next thing you know, they're coding or they're having some major anaphylactic reaction, or their electrolytes are way off, or I didn't want to take them seriously, so I didn't check their blood sugar and they're in fucking DKA and it's terrible, like that type of thing. So
Mhm.
I no matter how much, because I'm still human too. I've absolutely gotten annoyed by patients, and I'm not going to say I haven't, because I absolutely have. But within that annoyance, I'm like, this is a bad day for you. You really are. And that's another thing with chronic long-term pain patients, right? So your sickle cell patients, your patients that suffer from chronic pain, like I never in my life will ever be able to understand the pain level of a sickle cell patient. It's not something I will ever experience. It's not something I will ever be able to experience. So like anytime I got a sickle cell patient that tells me I'm hurting, baby, I believe you. I believe you. Like what kind of pain management do you have? Like, where's your pain at today? And people forget chronic pain patients or chronic long-term patients. Their scale of 1 to 10 is drastically different than mine and your scale of 1 to 10. And I
Right.
think like whenever I have chronic patients now, I no longer ask them on a scale of 1 to 10, how much pain are you in? Because people get upset when they see them answer that and they're like, "Oh, it's a 10," and they're sitting there on their phone. That's because they're assuming, and I've had this conversation with someone, they're assuming you're asking like to us on a scale of 1 to 10. So I make a habit now, and I actually had a chronic pain patient recommend this to me, and I've done it ever since. He said, "On your scale or mine?" I was kind of taken aback by that. I was like, "What do you mean?" He was like, "A 10 on your scale, Mary, is like a 3 on mine on a good day." So I've started asking my chronic patients on a scale, on your scale of 1 to 10, not what I would perceive to be 1 to 10. On your scale of 1 to 10, how bad is your pain? And it makes a world of a difference for chronic patients and how they respond to me. I talk about their pain management with them. If it is something that I can do for them, I will, because some of them are just on pain meds way past what I even have to offer, and they know that. So most of them will just hold out because they can't even get stuck anymore. Like most of them that I have central lines put in or have ports put in for their medication. So at that point, I'm just comfort care. Like, is there a position you can get in whatever position of comfort you want as long as I can put your straps on? Like, do you want me to turn down the lights? Do you need something to rest up your head? Like, do that in that way. But that goes towards fighting the compassion and empathy fatigue. Yeah, I see these people more times a month than I can count. But I've also had patients like that I don't see anymore because they're dead. So it's kind of like, yeah, we see them a lot, but like, it's not, who are we to speak for them on how they're feeling or what's going on? And you know what? They could be bullshitting me. That's not my determination to make, because what if the one time I decide they're bullshitting me is the one time something's serious and now I'm fucked?
Right.
So, and I'd be damned if that's going to be me. Like, I won't. Like, if I feel like I'm starting to get burnt out or I have compassion, empathy, fatigue, guess what, doc? I'm calling out. I got a day. Like, I got to take a me day, because I want to be the provider that shows up for my family's worst moments, or that shows up for me, because also I'm not calling an ambulance unless I'm actively dying. I could break my leg and I would still drive my own car. But like that, I want to be the provider that shows up for me, that shows up for my family, that I would want to see in that very sporadic moment of chaos. I want to be the calm for them. I want to be the calm I want to see in my moments of chaos. I stand on business on that. Like I will, like I'll die on that hill. Like I will do everything I can to take care of myself, to better educate myself, to be able to be the person I hope when my time comes or my family's time comes that walks in that door.
Yeah. That's, man, I know the job's really tough, and compartmentalizing and doing all that stuff and just trying to manage everything at one time. I don't know how you do it.
Me neither, if I'm being so for real. And you're one to talk, bro. All the stuff that you got going on, I don't know what you mean by I don't know how to manage. That shit's wild. You are props to you.
Appreciate that. So you talked a little bit about the special shirt that you're wearing today. And
So
that shirt belonged to somebody special, obviously. So let's talk about this special person.
yeah, so my grandfather, today is actually the anniversary of his passing. It'll be 10 years today, and it still feels like it was yesterday. The shirt was actually his. It was a t-shirt that my grandfather let me use one day when I stayed the night at my grandmother and them's house because I stupidly forgot to pack clothes. I've literally packed all of my toiletries and necessities and somehow just forgot my clothes. And then when my grandfather passed, my grandma gave me this shirt, and I didn't even realize that I was wearing it today until I sat down to talk with you earlier. Nice little coinky dink, you know. My grandfather was, I believe, Airborne Division 82nd. He was 82nd. Him or great grandpa? Yeah, he was 80. Okay, so he was 82nd Division Airborne. I'm sorry, we were having this discussion yesterday because we were at the World War II Museum, and then after he retired from the military, he was a state trooper for a lengthy amount of time. So very military, very strict, but also like I had this conversation with my mom. Like, there is no hands down, I will die on this hill too. I was the favorite grandchild. It was me. My grandfather was my absolute best friend growing up. Like, we traveled together all the time. Um, my grandfather actually took the seats out of the back of his truck and like made a pallet for me to like lay back there when I was a kid for us to drive and travel
Oh, yeah.
everywhere.
Nice
And
comfy out there.
oh yeah, I had my little gaming set up and everything. It was awesome.
Man.
And me and my mom were reminiscing on that yesterday because his death anniversary is today, but also because we're kind of dealing with the fact that my grandmother has progressed pretty far into her dementia as well.
Mm,
And my mom was talking about how it feels to like have someone that's here, but grieving them while they're alive because she said, it feels like I lost my mother 3 years ago. We're
yeah.
still taking care of her. She's still here. And mom says that she has these fleeting moments of clarity very briefly, but she has them. It made me, and we were talking about this too, is like my grandfather, when he died, he had just been diagnosed with early dementia, right, Mom? Yeah, he had just been diagnosed with early onset dementia. I'm sorry, my mom's in the other room.
That's cool.
She's visiting.
Yeah. Hi, Mom.
She was like, can you imagine if your grandfather wouldn't have died the way that he did because it was due to some complications that he had from a procedure? Having to deal with him the same way that we're dealing with grandmother right now. And I'm like, I was like, I couldn't imagine that. And there's something that like 3 days ago, I didn't realize when in March, where we were in March at this moment, but like I had something playing in my head and it just literally popped up like immediately. And it was my friend's voice saying, "Beware the Ides of March." And the Ides of March is March 15th. Um, and because the day that my grandfather died, I had woken up that morning. He had been in hospice already. Had been in hospice for 6 days at this point, 6 or 7 days at this point. And I had spent every single night at the hospice care facility. I was there with him all the time. Like, I'd really, like, unless I was in class or trying to like pack study for a test, because he passed away while I was in college, I was at his bedside. And this morning, the morning that he died, I can't explain it, but I had woken up that morning. I was getting ready to go, and I went to go walk out my door, and it's like I got hit with like an invisible wall of something that was just like, it was like an overwhelming feeling like, damn, like I really need to wash my clothes. I need to stay home and like do a couple loads, clean up a little bit because I haven't been here. Like, it was like an immediate feeling too. It wasn't like something I was gradually feeling. Like, I was literally going to walk out the door, and I was like, damn, I really should, stay a little bit, and clean up. And I had told mom, I'm like, hey, I know I was going to head on the way there, but I'm going to stay home. I'm going to do some clothes. I'm going to do a little laundry, kind of clean up, take care of my dog because my roommate at the time was keeping an eye on my dog because I hadn't been home. And then when I finally went to go leave, I was going to leave out again. And I get a phone call from a friend of mine, and she was an English major at the time. And she was working on some type of thesis paper about Julius Caesar. I don't even remember the details of what she was trying to tell me now, but I just remember her being really frustrated, and she was like, ugh. She was like, I'm gonna go and write this paper. And she was like, oh, Mary, by the way, I was like, what? She was like, beware the Ides of March, and like giggled, and then she hung up the phone. I got in my Uber because I didn't have a car at the time. I got in my Uber, and I was 2 minutes away from the hospice care facility. I'm 2 minutes away, and I'm not joking when I tell you that this car came into the parking lot on 2 wheels because mom had called me. I could see the facility from where I was, and she was like, "Mary, he's gone."
Mm.
And I'm like, "No, no, no." And
Yeah.
mom said that she could see me. Like, I did not wait for the Uber to stop. I did not wait for him. I let him slow down, and I was out of the car before the vehicle came to a stop. I came in, and I walked up to him, and a realization hit me real hard in that moment because I grabbed his hand, and I realized his hand weighed more dead than it did when he was alive. He was so sick and so frail. And I found out later on that the only people that weren't in the room with him when he passed were me and my grandmother, because my grandmother had stepped up to take a phone call. And to this day, I'm convinced that like that feeling that I had to like stay home and do my clothes was my grandfather being like, I don't want you to be here. I don't want you to be here for this. And part of me is upset that I missed it, but part of me is also glad that I didn't, because the last memory I have of my grandfather is a very beautiful one, and it was the night before he died. And my mom and my grandmother and me and my grandfather, we were all kind of talking around, and grandpa had mentioned that he wanted some vanilla ice cream, and he had a very particular type of vanilla bean ice cream specifically that he wanted to have. And mom and grandma were like, cool, we'll go to the store to get it. We'll all have ice cream together. And mom and grandma left, and the facility at the time didn't want my grandfather leaving the bed because he was weak, he was frail. But he looked at me, he goes, man, I really wish I could go sit out on the porch. And I'm like, jailbreak, we're sneaking you out of here. So I went and found a wheelchair, put my grandpa in it. And we were literally like sneaking around corners, like peeking our head out to make sure that no one could see us. She's like, I'm literally bringing you out of here to sit you on the front
Special
porch so you
ops.
can enjoy the. Oh, yeah, 100%. We were like peeking around corners, and I'm like, he's like, we're good. I'm like, okay. What about the front door? And we're sitting out on the patio. It's a beautiful patio of this place, and it overlooks Segan Lane. And normally in the city, you can't see the stars because it's like lit up by like city lights. But something about this night, you could actually see the stars in the sky. It was a beautiful night, like not a cloud in the sky, gorgeous night. And I'm kind of talking with him a little bit, and my grandfather starts to just kind of like look off to his left, and then he would look back at me, and he would be like, Mary, where are we? And I'm like, we're at the hospice place, Grandpa. You know, we're at the hospice. So we're waiting on mom and grandma to get back with the ice cream. And he goes, oh yeah, vanilla bean. And I'm like, yeah, vanilla bean. He was like, okay. And he stares off again, and he like looks off to his left, and he starts like mumbling and like talking to somebody. And he said a name, and like I told my mom yesterday, for the life of me to this day, I cannot remember whose name it was. And he stops looking that way, and he looks back at me. And he goes, where are we? I was like, Grandpa, we're at the hospice facility. Mom and grandma should be back pretty soon with your ice cream. And he was like, okay, yeah, vanilla bean. I'm like, vanilla bean. So we just sit there after that, and we're just like watching the traffic pass by. Mom and grandma come back in, and we're like, right, we got to get grandpa back in, because I'm pretty sure what I did was like this place's version of illegal. I took my grandpa out of bed when I wasn't supposed to, but fuck it. So we wheel him back into the room, and we get him back in. And he's sitting there in front of the TV, and you watch TV where you can love me ice cream. And I talked to my grandma a little later in that night, and I'm like, hey, grandma, I have a question for you. This is before my grandmother's dementia got really bad. She was still completely with it at the time. I was like, who's so-and-so? The person's name that my grandfather said. And my grandma got like white as a sheet. And she was like, where'd you hear that name? I was like, Grandpa was talking to this person, like literally looking off and talking to him. And she goes, Mary, that was one of your grandfather's friends that he lost in combat. And I'm like, excuse me. And it just kind of like plays into that thing of like people reaching out to people that they've lost, you know? And then, I mean, within, I think that was at like, so like what, mom, like 8 or 9 o'clock at night around that time? Yeah, it was like later evening. So within 16 hours, he was dead.
Wow.
And that was his like little high rise, you know, like if you've experienced it before, and as people in healthcare know, usually right before people die, they get that last little like
Yep.
gust of energy, that last like 24-hour round of energy. And that was like his. And honestly, that was like the most active he'd been and the days following, or since the days following. But that was, I don't know, man. Like, and I told my mom this too. I'm like, this is one thing that's difficult about this career. It's like my family is very small. It is me, my mom. Well, when all of them were still living, it was my grandfather, my great uncle Stan, me, my mom, and my uncle. Fit all of us in a sedan. My grandfather passed in 16. My great uncle, who was the reason I got into the sciences, passed away in 22. My grandmother has dementia now, so I mean, we've pretty much mentally said goodbye to her. And then it's me, my mom, and my uncle. And then I told my mom I do forget my uncle does have a 6-year-old daughter, but like it's kind of hard for me to associate with that because I'm closer to age with my other family than I am with the young one. But I mean, still, like it's really hard when you have a small family because when people start dying off, like you don't have other family to turn to, you know?
Yeah.
And it's a different type of loneliness feeling because a million times your friends and your coworkers can tell you like, "Oh, we're family, we're family." I'm like, "Yeah, like I do have very close friends that are my family. There's nothing in the world that I wouldn't do for them that they wouldn't do for me." But it's realizing that like what's left of your blood is very minimal is like a hard pill to swallow, especially as an only child. Like I don't have siblings. So it's I do lean very heavily on my non-blood family because it's my mom and me. It's not I mean, to me, it's my mom and me. Like, you know,
You don't have
and
anybody else other than your work family besides your mother.
my chosen family too. Like my best friend Kayla is damn near my sister. I've known her for
Mhm.
shit. Like actually, it is 20 years now. It'll be 20 years this year.
Well,
She's my absolute best friend, my ride or die. There's like nothing in the world that I wouldn't do for her that she wouldn't do for me. Like she is the one that like I could call her and be like, "Hey, I need to do something, no questions asked," and she's like, "Cool, tell me when." Or like, and then she'll promptly and respectfully judge me for whatever it was after it's done. Which cool. I don't need you to tell me what I did wrong. I just need you to help me with my chaos and then help me figure it out later. But I have work family too, like people that are work friends that are really close, like people that I've built a community and like family with because I don't have a big family. So that's been I mean, that's why I lean so heavy into like the EMS stuff that I'm working on because it's like building with a community of people that understand and like want to be a part of a very good educational and mental health related movement. And it's beautiful what people are doing now. Like the organizations are putting together the outreach with podcasts, with lives, with phone conversations, with websites, with like this what y'all are doing is so insanely important for advancements in first response and military. Because for a long time, no one talked about this shit. And it was very much so like a don't ask, don't tell type thing. Like, yeah, you were having your own mental problems, but also it was seen as weak, especially in men. It made women look emotional, made men look weak, made us look like we couldn't do our job. But at the end of the day, like, if you want us to do our job, we need to talk about these things because piling it up and burying it and pretending it doesn't exist is going to lead to someone looking down the barrel of a gun or drowning themselves in the bottom of a bottle or taking more pills than they can physically swallow. You know what I'm saying? Like this it's dark and it's gloomy, but it's true.
it's one of the things about this podcast that, we quickly come across was the mental health aspect of it with our guests. We quickly understood that this isn't what, the way the podcast started was about my cousin, and he was a very humble, loving man. He wouldn't want us to focus all of our energy on him. He would want us to focus our energy on his brothers and sisters in the first responder world. And the mental health issue was so alarming, and the fact that a lot of first responders were taking their lives, we quickly realized that that's what he would want us to focus on. He would want us to help to break that stigma. He would want us to be a cog in the wheel to help break that stigma because he would understand. So that's why we do what we do.
And that is I think people having such strong driving forces behind their motivation is something that allows people to continue to be successful because even in the dark days and the deep days and days that you're overwhelmed and you're tired and you're struggling, you have that reminder of that person that would have absolutely loved what you're doing and thought that what you were doing is amazing and that, keep pushing on. And like, so I know it's a lot easier said than done sometimes, but damn, when people are like, you just got to keep going,
Mhm.
like, that's true. Like, you got to keep going. Now, granted, keep going in a very healthy manner, but keep going nonetheless, because the second you stop, like, I don't know about you, but the second I stop doing something, it's real hard for me to pick that shit back up again. Like,
Yeah.
I will continue to move my feet. I will continue to keep going. I don't care if I'm going at a snail's pace because I need a break. I will keep going.
Yeah, you got to keep moving forward and keep doing you and keep trying to do things in a healthy way so that you can survive this and help more people. And one of our ways, because, my wife and I, we're not first responders. And so one of our ways of giving back, because since our first responders are there for us in our darkest days and the time that we need them the most, it's time for people like us to give back and be there for you. And if we have to help advocate for breaking the stigma or getting the word out, I know we do conferences, we go to events, we do all kinds of stuff, and we do this out of pocket. And we just try to do our best to get the word out and make connections with therapists and counselors and people that are trauma informed. And a lot of first responders have become therapists and we've made connections with them so that, and the whole premise behind the idea behind that is to get our first responders help. So like if they need help and we have a therapist in that area, we can reach out to them and they can contact the individual and say, "Hey, I'm here for you. I know what you're going through. I've been there. I've done that." And we're also involved with a lot of organizations now that are free organizations where you can get help. One of them is an app. You can go to the app. They have free therapists there. They have peer support groups that'll reach out to you and talk to you. If you're within the area, they'll come to you and talk to you in person, stuff like that. And we have one that they're doing studies right now on changing your frame of thinking and dealing with PTSI and all kinds of other things. I mean, that's what we're trying to do. Is that's one of the ways that we're trying to give back.
I think that's absolutely beautiful. And I think the amount of time and effort that y'all put into that is is unparalleled. Y'all have really taken this idea and just fucking ran with it, and it's awesome. Like, that the knowing that those resources are available and those things that are accessible to us. Also, like, again, I'm gonna speak for me because I can't speak for everybody, but I would like to think it like, it makes me feel seen by the non-healthcare side of things.
Mhm.
And I know that, like, us as EMS providers, we're, like, fighting for our mental health, we're fighting for better protocols, we're doing this, but, like, we're in the same boat. It is awesome to see it happen with someone not affiliated with healthcare. Also see the things that we see and advocate for us much in the same. Because you have a family member who was in that same boat as we were, but normally, like, you don't really see too many EMS advocation or first responder advocation or healthcare advocation for people that aren't affiliated with it. And that just, man, that feels good. That's refreshing. Like, that is nice to see that, like, what we're trying to do, the outreach we're trying to make happen is being seen by the general public, but also because it's affected the general public. It's affected you because this was your loved one that was in the same, like, career field, and it's so eye-opening in a way because, like, we think that, people aren't hearing us. Like, we think we have to, I mean, we are fighting strong, we're trying to do the things we can. Y'all are a prime example of we are being heard, we are being seen, we're being listened to by people that aren't just us. And that, I'm not gonna lie, man, that's very, like, that's a very breath of fresh air for sure.
I appreciate that, and you're definitely very welcome. I know it's job isn't easy. We've heard many stories, and trust me, you are not alone. And myself too, I struggle with mental health issues. I have severe panic attacks of my own. So, I'm on medications and I go through therapy. So, I have my own struggles. I'm a truck driver by trade and I work a lot, but yet, you know, this is a huge passion. This is something that I feel is needed. And like I told my cousin's wife, she says, "This is helping a lot of people. You need to keep doing this." And I promised her, I was like, "We're going to fight till the end of the earth to do this. We're going to keep doing this in his honor because this is what he would want it." So that's our mission. And we're going to
I love
keep
that y'all
doing
do
it.
that. So what you are doing is awesome. Thank you so much. Like it's you. I know that you're doing it in your cousin's honor, but I don't think that you can begin to realize the extent of like in my little EMS heart, like how much that means, like as a first responder to see a non-healthcare person care about it as much as we care about it.
Yeah.
And that's how word of mouth spreads. That's how we advocate for us is when people that aren't us start advocating for us, we're moving in the right direction. Do we still have a ways to go? Absolutely.
Yeah. A lot of long
But
ways
we're
to go.
being heard now. We're
Right.
being
Being
heard
seen.
and it's
And
just it's so great.
yeah. And I also wanted to just say that, when we came across this, it affected us so much. It hurt. It like really hurt me to hear a lot of the things that were going on. And that was even more of a driving force because I don't want to see that happen. Our first responders deserve a whole lot more than what they're given. And if they need help, we're here to help them. If we can't help them, we know somebody who can.
Network.
Yep. And that's what we've been doing.
Creating a network.
So I wanted to ask you, what was your grandfather's name?
James
James. What was his full name?
Howard.
James Howard. Okay. And he was 82nd Airborne Division, Army.
82nd.
And he was also a state trooper. What state was that?
Louisiana.
Okay. So he was definitely a brother in the armed forces and as well as law enforcement. That's pretty awesome.
Mm.
Um, the reason why I asked this is because I wanted to know if maybe you would like to do a moment of silence and just say who he is, what he did, and then we give him a moment of silence right here, right now with you on his anniversary. Would you like to do that?
On this day, March 15th of 2026, I would like to take a moment of silence for James Howard, 82nd Airborne Division, Louisiana State Trooper, grandfather, husband, friend. It's been 10 years. It's been 10 years since you've been gone, and it feels like it was just yesterday. But your impression that you've left on the family and on me, it'll be there forever. I miss you. Thank you.
You're very welcome. I know this is it's kind of touching, like it really hurts to bring up these memories, and I totally understand what you're going through. You know, I lost my mother when I was 27 years old. She had metastatic lung cancer. My grandmother passed away when I was 9 from lung cancer, and my aunt, she has dementia, and so I understand that. And that was her closest nephew. Like my uncle Bill, who was married into the family, he sees me more of a son than a nephew. That's how close we are. And that was my cousin Billy's dad. And it was really hard to lose somebody that is so close to you. I totally understand that. So, and a lot of my family served in the armed forces as well, including my uncle Bill.
I'm going to take a moment too to plug another TikTok page because you mentioned your family has dementia. My mom's starting to do lives. She's going to be doing them once a week. We did one last night, had an amazing turnout. We got like 125,000 likes. We were able to push it out to the FYP. But it's a forum and discussion for dementia. Like if you are a healthcare provider that has dealt with dementia patients. If you are someone who has a family member with dementia, it is a safe and open space to discuss what it's like to deal with that, the ways that you have to handle your family, your struggles, your laughs, your cries. Like it's just a open, safe space to discuss the life of a family member with dementia. And my mom hosts it. If you want her tag, it's actually in one of the previous videos that I shared. It's at Hetty Boo. She's going to be doing it once a week.
Okay.
So I think she said maybe Saturdays. Yeah, Saturdays maybe. She's gonna definitely iron out the details, but we had a really good turnout for it last night. It was her first live ever for it, and it had such a good positive feedback. So I think definitely if you at any point in time want to talk about your family member with dementia, that'll be a very, very good open safe space to do that as well.
Absolutely. Um, yeah, I mean, we can get the information, and whenever your mom goes live, we can jump on there, and we'd be glad to.
Really.
Be pretty awesome. I definitely really appreciate you coming on here and sharing your story. It was very heartfelt, very genuine. And, like we said, we love our first responders, and we're going to do everything that we can within our abilities to help you guys overcome this. I know we we have a lot going on, but this is our primary focus outside of our work and paying our bills. But so just to
Thank
let
you
you
so
know, we
much
are
for
here for you
having me.
guys. Yeah. And you're very welcome.
Absolutely.
And it's been an honor. It's definitely been an honor to have you.
Absolutely. I enjoyed it thoroughly, and I appreciate y'all having me.
Yeah. And I know that there are going to be listeners and also other guests that have been on our podcast that's going to have something to take away from this.
I
They're going to
hope
be able to
so.
learn
I
something.
do.
Oh,
I
I'm
do. I
sure.
hope. I always said if I can reach one person is more than one person I didn't have. So
Absolutely. You know, we hear comments all the time that it's helped people, numerous accounts. It's helped them either come on the podcast or something that our guest had said. It's helped them. So to get your side of the story and get, you know, things from your perspective, it's obviously going to be relatable to somebody else out there that is within the field that understands what you're going through because you are not alone.
I'm really glad to have found this community. And again, thank you for allowing me to come speak.
You're very welcome. That's all I have for you today. We do have an off duty edition that we do. You're more than welcome to schedule for that anytime. It's more lighthearted. It's less about the first responders, more about your daily life, what you do. Like we could talk about all the gaming and stuff that you do. That you and I, we have that in common because I'm a gamer. I have a
Yep,
PS5 and a PS4, and yes,
absolutely. I'll be on the lookout.
yeah. So I'm on PS5 as the Kraken 77.
I don't even know what my PS5 handle is, to be honest with you. I literally like downloaded my PS5 and then started playing Genshin Impact, and then I never paid attention to my handle after that.
Pretty fun. But yeah, we are also on TikTok,
I follow
all
you.
the socials. Yeah. Okay. So you follow us on TikTok. We're on all the socials, Instagram, Facebook. We have our personal pages and we also have the podcast pages. We have the radio station pages that we're on, which our radio station is Slightly Unhinged Radio. And that's a free app you can listen to. It's all nostalgic music from the 70s to 2010. The Thin Line Rock Station is a first responder radio station, and that is also a free app. You can download that app and listen to music all day, and you can hear me twice a week on there. My wife's on
Oh
there
yeah,
Mondays. And you can hear me act like an asshole.
deal.
Yeah, because I do. I get pretty crazy on there. I cuss people out and everything.
The inner monologue.
Yeah, yeah. So, but anyways, it was wonderful talking with you, and hopefully we get to have you back on in the off-duty edition whenever you're available. I
Absolutely.
know your schedule is busy, but if we're not following you, we better follow you. Hopefully we are, because if we're not,
I think y'all are. I think maybe.
all right, we'll check. I mean, I don't keep up with the social media. That's my wife's thing. I do sometimes, but since I drive most of the time, I'm like driving constantly. I can't really like deal with the phone. She works in an office. She works for an interpreting agency. So she's in the office most of the time. So she deals
Gotcha.
with all the social media stuff.
Gotcha.
So
Yeah,
if you talk to
absolutely.
her, she's the one you're talking to.
Awesome sauce. Hopefully we'll be speaking with y'all in the future, and I hope y'all have a great day. I also don't know how this app works, so I have no idea how to get the fuck out of here.
That's okay. I will go ahead and take care of that portion, and I will close it out. So you have a wonderful day, and I really appreciate you coming on. And hey, you rock, and we love you. Just remember that. And you are
Thank
seen,
you.
and you are not alone.
Thank you so much for everything you do. Y'all have a great day.
You as well. Thank you for joining us on 8158 Stories of Sacrifice. Every story we share is a tribute to the courage and resilience of first responders and their families. If this episode impacted, encouraged, or inspired you, please subscribe, leave a review, and share with someone who supports first responders. Follow us on all social media platforms at 8158 Podcast for updates. 8158 Stories of Sacrifice is a team effort. Rico brings the stories to life through casting, writing, original music, and editing. Brianne Shipley as production manager, handling booking, social media, graphics, promotion, marketing, website management, and logo design. Please visit our website at 8158podcast.com. For questions, collaborations, or to share your story, our email address is contactus@8158podcast.com. Until next time, let's continue to honor the legacies and remember the sacrifices of those who serve, every brave man and woman on the front lines, protecting and defending us all. This is Rico signing off and honoring 8158.